My name is Shears. I've actually worked in the tech industry for about 25, 30 years now here in the Valley. Most recently, I've moved over to SanDisk in the last 3 years. So I came to know Christ when I was in high school, probably about 17, 18 years old. As I entered into the workforce, things weren't always as I had hoped to be as far as my Christian witness. I wasn't as bold. I was very careful on any type of witness that I would do. In fact, there would be sometimes I was more concerned about my success in the workplace as opposed to being, a leader for Christ or being what I should be as far as, being a responsible Christian and bold in my faith. There was definitely some times I struggled where I thought maybe it was not as convenient or it might be too costly to be recognized as a Christian, as sad as that might be. So at SanDisk, about a year and a half ago, there was a couple of actually new college hires that were hired on SanDisk, and there were some opportunities talking about their beliefs and whatnot, and they actually said, hey, we should start a Bible study. So my first reaction was, to kind of hold back and again, kind of being playing it safe, but the whole thing about being bold in my witness, I just felt that God was leading me, to this point where I needed to, kind of circle the wagons on some of the folks that are actually coming up and talking about, joining a Bible study. Originally started with maybe 3 or 4 people talking about it, and I thought that this would be a really good pool for a Bible study. And in our first meeting, we actually had about 10, 11 people show up. So I was a little bit surprised, but I shouldn't have been, unfortunately, because God was definitely at work here in bringing all walks of life from SanDisk into this Bible study. We have people that are just out of college, out of Cal, in their early 20s, to people that are in their late 60s, senior directors, engineering, that have been in the workforce for 40 plus years. So we have a wide spectrum of people that are attending the Bible study now. And you just definitely see how God is just orchestrating the whole thing there. And all that I needed to be was just that the willingness to step forward, and God has definitely brought everybody else to that. Okay, so God hasn't always used just the Bible study as a vehicle. He's used many different avenues for me to, have a witness there at the workforce. There's been opportunities with even my boss. So my boss, who is Israeli, as which the majority of the workforce is there at SanDisk, and also there's a big influence of the Indian culture as well. So you have the Israeli and the Indian cultures there. So it's something where I believe that a lot of Christians might feel intimidated by, because it's not the same beliefs. But we've actually had some phenomenal conversations, my boss and I, very candid conversations about Christianity, and talking about his traditions and beliefs, and how and I'm able to have that conversation from a Christian standpoint as well. But outside of that, we have different co-workers where God has definitely put different opportunities in front of me. People that know, obviously they know where I stand as far as my beliefs and my values and my Christian walk. And they've initiated things where they've come up to me and they tell me about situations that are going on. And they'll even ask me to pray for them. And I look at that as an awesome opportunity to build a relationship, obviously pray for that person. And there's times where things have even developed even further, where I've had, because I've built it onto that relationship, where I've been able to invite them to church, or invite them to a certain program, or even invite them to the Bible study, which we have as a staple on a weekly basis. There's been times where I've had folks that actually work directly for me as well, again, knowing where I stand and where my beliefs are. They've brought things up to me in a one-on-one conversation, and you have to be, careful with that, in the sense that, I don't want to overstep my bounds from an ethical standpoint and my responsibility at work. But the fact that they've initiated that, they know where I stand, and they're asking me for that, I'm comfortable in sharing that in that situation. It's not a fearful thing, but again, I just want to have that responsibility and accountability, at the workplace as well. But those situations have also been where God has just orchestrated and allowed me to talk and pray with those folks, and even check up on them, and again, building that relationship, which a lot of times is a platform, for inviting even further, invitations to church or other events. but it doesn't always turn out to be a yes and they show up, or they're, attend church, or, in a white picket fence type story. Recently I had an opportunity where I had a chance to talk with a person, talk about actually, she was asking about different folks that are even in our Bible study, and I took that as an opportunity to invite her as well, and I did so. And so, but it actually fell flat there in the fact that the person said, well, kind of politely, thanks, but no thanks. But I didn't take that as a personal rejection. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, doing my part. And I know that Christ is not concerned about the outcome or my success of that particular situation, other than just me being willing, obedient, and doing what I'm supposed to be doing. One of the things that I get to look back on it and maybe feel good to be a part of. It's not anything that I can boast about, but there was an opportunity where there was a person that worked for me in a group a couple years back, and she was having some challenges and knew that I was a believer, and came to me and asked me different questions, and one thing led to another, and the relationship was built there, into where ultimately I was able to invite her to church, and she actually came here at Park Victoria as well, and she started attending, even though it was quite a distance for her to go. But ultimately, and the great news is that ultimately she did give her life to Christ. She attends another church down over in Fremont, but that's just something that you kind of say, wow, that was cool to be a part of, right? That was God, and that's God that orchestrated that. But I was thankful for God allowing me that opportunity to be a part of that. Everybody needs to be that witness. Don't sit there and feel concerned or anxious or fearful of what it might cost you or whatnot, but just be that witness. Every opportunity that God gives you, wherever it is and wherever you are in the workplace, take that opportunity. You will definitely be blessed by that.